Good evening to you all and welcome to the summit. We are glad that we have your company tonight as we unpack the 2026-2027 Rwanda National Budget and its financial year, which is a budget that goes beyond numbers and reveals the country's priorities for economic growth, job creation, education, healthcare, infrastructure, and overall development. So for many citizens, the budget can seem technical and complex, yet it directly affects our daily lives, from the quality of public services that we receive on a daily basis to the opportunities available for business, farmers, professionals, and young people entering the workforce. Now, to help us understand what this budget means in practical terms, I am joined by two distinguished guests. We'll start with you, CPA Jamali Nambajimana, Resource Mobilization and Partnership Division Manager at the University of Rwanda, Program Manager of the Priority Skills for Growth Program, and member of the University of Rwanda Board members. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes, and last but not least, we have CPA Angelo Musinguzi, Partner Tax and Regulatory Services at Garnet Partners Limited, with extensive experience in tax advisory, regulatory services, and public finance. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes, and we would like to also inform you that both are members of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Rwanda, also known as ICPAR. So, gentlemen, thank you so much once again for accepting our invitation to delve into the Rwanda National Budget for 2026-2027. And like I mentioned in the intro, sometimes the average Rwandan, it can be a bit too complex or a bit technical. And so we are here to kind of delve into what the budget means, how it is allocated, why it is important for Rwandans to actually understand where their money is going through taxes, and so on and so forth. So I'll start with you, CPA Jamali. When you look at the 2026-2027 national budget, what does it tell us about Rwanda's development priorities for the coming year?
Thank you, Martina, for hosting us here at the Rwanda Broadcasting Agency. As we try to deep dive into the national budget 2026-27, which was recently shared by the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Planning. Of course, when you look at the national budget as an average citizen, you need to understand that especially this coming 26-27 financial, the core of this budget, it reflects, if I can say to start with, it reflects the national resilience that the government of Rwanda is going through. It reflects the self-reliance, and of course, it focuses on regional integration and inclusive governance. When you look at this national budget that was recently presented to the Parliament, there is a dramatic increase in the domestic revenue. And this tells a lot to the national citizens, as it reflects on how Rwanda is trying to be more resilient, more self-reliant. Having an increase from the last year's budget, it shows that the government of Rwanda is taking a deliberate decision to ensure that the citizens contribute to the income generation that will support the economic development. So as an average citizen, you must understand that the contribution of the citizens, the contribution of the nationals, the contribution of the youth, of the young people, should be made to ensure that we finance our own budget. That's the major reflection that I would say for an average citizen who need to understand how this budget will need to be understood.
And do you think over the years, the average citizen has understood the importance of revenue coming from a domestic point of view, and having them understand that they need to contribute to the economy in that sense?
Of course, we all need to understand, because the government of Rwanda has put in place several policies that aim to ensure that every Rwandan contribute to the economic development. Of course, it starts with the good governance, the good political will, whereby the information is disseminated from the central level, going down to the local level, at the level of a district, sector, cell. And now there are different forums through which the information is disseminated. And then the citizen will do understand that they need to contribute their part, especially when we say domestic finance, the major part of the finance is taxes. And now everybody needs to understand his contribution in paying proper taxes, avoiding the tax evasion, ensuring that you pay tax appropriately, and of course, if there is any economic activity that's generating income, it must be sustained by the local citizens.
Thank you very much. Over to you, CPA Angelo. Now, many people hear about the national budget, but don't fully understand where government money comes from in that sense. Can you explain the major sources of revenue that the revenues that finances the budget?
Thank you, Martina. First of all, I'd like to explain what is the national budget.
Yes, we can start from there.
Because people have to understand that the national budget is simply a government financial plan that shows where government will get money and how it will spend it. It's like a household that also plans how to get money and how to spend it. So there are different sources of government revenue. One, we have what we call domestic revenue mobilization, the money that comes within the country, that's generated from the country. Two, we have external loans and borrowings. And three, we have donations. So if I come back to number one, domestic revenue, it's the major contributor of revenue to the government. And domestic revenue simply involves taxes. When you talk about domestic revenue, people think immediately about taxes, which is true. Because taxes, as we speak now for Rwanda, it accounts for more than 55% of the national money that the government collects. And combined with other sources of income for the government, I saw what the minister presented, it accounts for around 68% domestic revenue, which is a good thing, which means that government can continue to operate without donations, without foreign borrowings at 68%, which is a good thing. Because, as you know, depending on donations and borrowing is not in one way a good thing or the other. So the sources of revenue for government is mainly through domestic revenue, as I said, and taxation. When I talk about taxation, I mean different types of taxes that we pay, that the people pay, and taxpayers and businesses and individuals. Corporate income tax from businesses that make profits. Value-added tax, you have heard about the tax collector emphasizing use of electronic billing machines, what we call EBM. We talk about pay-as-you-earn, which is tax from the salaries of employed people. We talk about excise duty, customs duties, all these taxes collected. They contribute to what I'm speaking to. Then we also have non-tax revenue. For example, government dividends. If government invests, for example, in bonds and stock, we have fees collected by government on very many areas, including fees for example, passports, fees from registrations of different documents. All those are sources of domestic revenue. Then external borrowing, as I said, for example, it's from the partners with the government. We have strong institutions that can lend the government, including, for example, these international financial institutions like World Banks and so forth and so on. And then, of course, donations, which also come from different donors, well-wishers of the government of Rwanda. So that's basically, in brief, the sources of the budget. Yes.
Yeah.
And when it comes to how to spend it, of course, government has priorities. There are many needs of the population, but of course, government sits and plans for people and says, let's make our priority for the money we have. That's why you find the emphasis. And above all, the emphasis is to help people get out of poverty, help people improve their well-being. So that's why you find, for example, in the current budget, a lot of the biggest percentage was spent on agriculture, infrastructure, construction of roads, construction of schools, hospitals, and equipping them with all the facilities that are needed. And when we talk about agriculture, it's a big thing. We talk about the value chain, from farming, from up to exporting the produce or taking them to market. So you find that the government prioritizes sectors according to the needs of the population. And that's how it allocates money to these sectors.
Thank you very much, CPA Angelo. Back to you, CPA Jamali. We spoke on the different ways in which the resources should come domestically, but Rwanda continues to finance a significant share of its budget through domestic resources. How important is it that it continues to advance the country's self-reliance agenda? And we see that through, you said, good governance, but if a Rwandan who is sitting at home should be hearing, how is it important for us to continue the self-reliance agenda that has already begun its course?
Thank you. As my colleague CP Angelo was mentioning, domestic revenue is forming the major part of financing our national budget. And of course, this is a strong indicator that we have in this current national budget, which reflects the macroeconomic maturity of our nation. That macroeconomically, we are just growing. And for the citizens seeing that the domestic revenue have been increased, the major focus is financing using the domestic revenue. And when it comes to spending the total budget, the spending is built around the national strategic transformation pillars. And when you look at the budget that the Honorable Minister of Finance and Planning presented in the last week, you will find that mainly around 63% of the budget was allocated to the economic transformation. Now, for the national, seeing that this coming budget is mainly financed by our domestic revenues, and then the major chunk of this budget will be spent on the component of economic transformation, of course, which will target the major sectors, the sector of infrastructure, as my colleague was mentioning, the agriculture, which occupies the major part of the population. It says a lot. It says a lot in the sense that we all need to understand our role in this economic journey, because in deciding to focus on domestic revenue, the government is putting much consideration even on the impact of the current war in the Middle East, which is really affecting the global economy. And we are seeing it around the world, how countries are being hit by this global crisis. The fuel prices have increased. And now, back home, the government is trying its level best to ensure that all Rwandans start thinking that the development will come from within. When it comes from within, one of the sources will be taxes, as my colleague was mentioning, but of course there are some other domestic source of finances, like the domestic borrowings. But a normal average citizen will not simply understand the domestic borrowing. You will find that everybody is thinking of taxes. And now the government is there to increase the tax base, to ensure that we increase the amount we get from taxes. And of course, this will be achieved by having some tax reforms. And now, as a local citizen, when I understand that my government will really focus on domestic revenue, I need to simply understand that I will have to put much effort and, of course, be responsive to domestic policies that will enhance the tax reforms that we would expect in this coming fiscal. Of course, in the last budget of 2025-26, there were several reforms that helped us to see some increase in tax base or even an increase in domestic revenue. But you will find that in December, when the budget was revised, it was revised downward because the government was saying further investment the next fiscal year, of which we have seen an increase of around 1.1 trillion that has increased from last year's budget. And seeing that comes from domestic revenue, it tells me that Rwandans, we have to work a lot.
Yeah, but at least the understanding is starting to increase, and that is why such conversations are important. So thank you for that. Back to you, CPA Angelo. We have seen that through this year's budget, there is a lot of emphasis, like we continue to say, even CPA Jamali has mentioned, the emphasis of domestic revenue mobilization. If you could describe the importance of this towards Rwanda's long-term economic sustainability.
Thank you once again. The world as a whole is going through a lot of transformations. There are very many shocks, external shocks. If I can start from the time of COVID-19, you saw what happened. From there, you have seen other externalities, wars. You have seen countries cutting on foreign aid. You have seen these shocks related to climate change. Okay, you have seen there are a lot going on. So therefore, without strengthening domestic revenue mobilization, countries will face challenges. Therefore, strong countries are now putting measures to ensure that their economies are doing very well, taxes are paid properly, so that if these external shocks come or continue, the population of those governments, of course including Rwanda, has to continue.
They'll be
it can't
prepared.
shut down.
Yeah.
Therefore, the role of enhancing and supporting and streamlining domestic revenue generation is non-disputable. That's the way to go. And this calls for everyone to participate and pay his or her share. This calls for government to put in measures, to put in place measures that can facilitate trade, to put in measures that can sensitize every citizen to participate in revenue mobilization and payment. This will call for compliance, this will call for vigilance and for government monitoring of these systems. And above all, globally now, all the tax systems are going a lot of transformation, especially through technology in tax collection. So you have seen tax administration employing a lot of technology measures to ensure that it simplifies tax collection measures and put everyone that is supposed to pay tax in the tax base. By doing that, it will improve the tax base and increase taxes to be paid and then meet the budget as it is. It's not a big budget. 7.8 trillion is not a big budget as such when you compare to the rest, for example, of the East African countries. But again, given the economy of the country, it is sufficient, well spent, well monitored, and equally distributed to every citizen. That's why I mentioned about priority sectors. There are sectors you cannot go out with: agriculture, education, health, technology, climate change. All those sectors are very important, and a lot of money has been allocated to that. And this will also impact the common person. It will impact the business people, because when the government spends, the common people benefit. People who are participating in business, in the tendering processes, they will get money, and therefore they will improve the economy eventually.
Yes, thank you very much for that.
One more important part I would add, over-reliance on foreign aid we normally bring some pressure to governments. Now, the government of Rwanda taking a deliberate decision of now in this national budget increasing the domestic source of revenue, it also gives a greater flexibility to finance its domestic expenditure and have a major focus on its own development agenda. So we will be able to decide on how we finance according to our development agenda without having the external pressure from the foreign aid. Sometimes this foreign aid comes with some constraints, with some conditions, sometimes we must follow. But of course, domestic revenue are raised from the citizens, and it is meant for the citizens. It will be spent on the priorities set in the development agenda by the same citizens. So that's why we see a lot of increase in the allocation of domestic revenues.
No, that is very important because, as you mentioned, some of these foreign aid that countries receive, we see them being stopped abruptly. So if we are in control of how we use the resources that we have and how we can mobilize them, it's definitely, we would have the upper hand, so which is important. But back to you, CPA Jamila. CPA Angelo spoke on some of the different sectors in the budget, but if you could explain which sectors in the budget do you believe have the greatest potential to be able to accelerate economic growth, and why?
Thank you. Of course, it's obvious at the heart of this, we have agriculture. The major population lives around the agriculture.
Yes.
Most of us, now, the government of Rwanda is taking the decision of putting much component of the budget in the agriculture sector to boost the whole value chain in agriculture, starting from the improved irrigation systems, having irrigation systems so that we can keep up with the climate changes, the distribution of the improved seeds to the population to ensure that they can increase the production. Of course, there are different programs in the Ministry of Agriculture that aim at distributing some fertilizers, and all these expenditure contribute to the increased budget of agriculture. And in the past, we have been having some challenges in post-harvest storage, whereby an average citizen will have issues in keeping the produce. And now, in this current national budget, we now see a dramatic change of ensuring that the citizens have now the capacity of storing having the post-harvest to ensure that maybe we keep the produce for the future. And all these initiatives contribute to the increased budget of agriculture. And besides the agriculture, we also have seen a major component being taken into infrastructure. Of course, infrastructure will lead the rest of the business, having better roads, having schools, having hospitals. All this will contribute to the other economic transformation pillar, which takes around 63% of the national budget. And all these initiatives will be needed to boost the economy. When we talk of the domestic revenue that we kept insisting, of course, you can't do much without having effective infrastructure. So agriculture, infrastructure sector are taking much of the budget. We are seeing the new Kigali International Airport being constructed, and of course this will link us to the other international communities, and it will boost the international relations. As somebody who is working in the education sector, I would not agree with saying that the government is investing much in education. Having skilled labor, again, will contribute to the economic development. You cannot say economic transformation when you don't talk skilled labor. We are seeing major investment in universities. I'll take, for instance, the University of Rwanda. The government of Rwanda is giving us a much budget around 84 billion in this next fiscal year. And this will involves some of the major development projects that aim to improve the teaching facilities, producing more skilled graduates. And when you see to other sister institutions like Rwanda Polytechnic, the government is investing much in promoting the technical vocation education training, whereby we expect that the young people will be educated and be able to create their own job. Now, all these sectors are just getting major budget to ensure that they would contribute mainly to the economic transformation pillar of our national strategy for transformation too.
Thank you very much. CPA Angelo, taxes are often described as the fuel of public services. How can citizens better understand the link between taxes as well as the services that they receive?
Thank you. Taxes, I can say, is the backbone of government revenue. Government cannot provide services to the citizens without collecting taxes. As we said, all these infrastructure and all these priority sectors are being serviced by government because it collects taxes from the businesses and from the population. Therefore, it is paramount to note that without them, government would struggle to meet the demands of its population. Two, taxes, people comply when they are paying taxes, when they see services being provided. Okay? Because, yes, tax is a non-quid pro quo. You don't pay taxes and expect direct benefit you as an individual, but it is a collective responsibility and a collective investment. So, and this is now when it comes to governance, especially for Rwanda, people, taxpayers see the results of paying taxes. They see infrastructure, they see hospitals, they see security. So all these are a result of taxes, and therefore government provides services. So they are linked, because without taxes, then it would be chaos. Yes.
And over the years, have you seen an increase in better understanding or accepting of the reason to why such taxes are there and how they better serve the citizens through citizens?
Yes. I can now demonstrate this by giving examples. In around 1999, here in Rwanda, and this is public information, in the reports of Ministry of Finance and Rwanda Revenue, government was collecting 60 billion, okay, 1999. But now, that 60 billion can be paid by one company.
Imagine.
Now we're talking about 7.8 trillion in a period of around 25 years. And you have seen all this, what's happening in Rwanda. You are a journalist, you move around and you see what is happening. A lot of developments, security, people visiting Rwanda, tourism. This is a demonstration that tax is collected and is well spent. Okay, so it's easy to judge and even to find out. You have seen people coming to Rwanda because it's peaceful, it's clean.
It's clean.
All this comes with people paying taxes. And therefore, yes, I would say yes. It's important. People are seeing the importance of taxes and education also. There's a lot of education campaigns going on. You have seen Rwanda Revenue Authority putting up a lot of campaigns, a lot of incentives for people to, for example, collect invoices when they are buying. I don't know whether you ask for your electronic billing when you buy in a supermarket.
Yes.
You have seen campaigns, road shows. You have had a lot of sensitization, TV programs, and so forth and so on. So yes, there's the compliance threshold has increased over the years. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Like you mentioned, there's so many campaigns around accountability, asking for your EBM receipt, and we see that awareness has increased, and understanding, and the fact that Rwanda does show where the money is going through increased infrastructure development, the hospitality and tourism sector. We do see that increasement. So one cannot say that, oh, I don't know where my money goes, because there is physical evidence, and for that we're very appreciative of the government to continue to emphasize that.
Yeah, let me also add that I remember around 1998, 97, people would sit in a bar and just jubilate because they are not paying proper taxes.
Yes.
So you would become a man if you evade
Taxes.
and you boost by telling your friends that me, I didn't pay. But today, if you don't pay, your neighbor will report you. Such statements are no longer in existence. So that means everyone is now trying to be compliant. Of course, there is a gap. There is a gap that should be addressed by the responsible organizations and ministries, because almost more than 70% of our population is not in a formal economy where you can trace them and tax them. So it's still a challenge for government and the implementers of taxes. But that is being reduced story by story, as I mentioned, especially through technology in taxation, where you capture everyone who is trying to evade taxes. So there's a gap, but those who are paying, they are paying well. Of course, like any other economy, some people see tax as a burden. That is obvious, but they should not see it as a burden. They should see it as used for development and for the well-being of the country and the population. Yes.
Thank you for that addition. Back to you, CPA Jamali. As Program Manager of the Priority Skills for Growth Program, if you could mention some opportunities that this budget can create for skills development as well as workforce readiness.
Thank you. To start with, when you say the priority skills, this is the concept that came in place when the government of Rwanda was negotiating a grant and a loan with the World Bank. And there are some priority sectors that were selected that will get the major funding from the World Bank. But of course, this was being received as part of one component was a loan, another component was a subsidy. And this sector, we included the sector of agribusiness or manufacturing. And then another sector included transport and logistics. And of course, it included also the energy sector. And they were termed priority sector because we were seeing some gaps in this sector in terms of skilled labor, because we are seeing some transformative changes that are taking place in Rwanda, but we couldn't have people who can work in this field. And now, seeing that the government of Rwanda is now deliberately making a decision of putting much budget into agriculture, and we are training people who are willing to do agribusiness. What we see as part of the priority skills sectors, we want the young people to be aligned with the opportunities that are being availed in these priority sectors. This budget, the way I'm projecting it, I'm seeing the budget are creating some job opportunities in the sector, in these sectors of agribusiness, and in this. This is in addition to other sectors like construction. We are seeing some new expressways that are being constructed here in Kigali. We see here in Remera, we have that express. So of course, we see this creating some jobs. And if I go beyond this, having the nature of the young people that we're having and seeing the opportunities that are being created in ICT and innovation, there should be a matching. Because this sector of digital transformation, with the initiative that the government is bringing in the innovations, ICT innovations, we are seeing more employment being created. And when we were discussing another this project, we added also ICT as a priority sector, because we are seeing major infrastructure being made, major initiative being made in that sector. There's a recent trend of the monetization of the social media, the social media platform. And you have so many young people who are just investing their time and money in this sector. And the government has seen this as an opportunity and said, okay, I just followed the discussion that the Right Honorable Prime Minister was having with the journalist, where he was emphasizing that the government is planning to do something to monetize this, to ensure that the young people that are involved in this. And in the case of the priority sectors now, we have added this because we follow the trend that the government is taking deliberately to ensure that specific sector is given a lot of investment. And now for the skills, we must ensure that we have skilled labor who will serve this sector that the government is developing. And now we're seeing this in this next national budget. The young people should expect job creations in this sector, be it in digital transformation, be it in agribusiness, be it in construction, be it in all other major sectors. We look forward to see some rapid transformation.
And no, we've already started seeing it, especially there being a surge in the youth joining the digital world, using their expertise in social media, and the fact that the government is now working towards monetizing some of these apps so that they can earn through what they're doing. We will definitely see a change in that sector. Back to you, CPA Angelo. From a tax and regulatory perspective, what are some of the key highlights of the 2026-2027 budget?
One of the key highlights is what we have discussed, that 68% of the total national envelope comes from domestic resources. That's a very key highlight because it's the first time.
Yes.
I think the government has hit that level. 2, it reduces dependence on externalities. So the government is able to generate and become self-reliant in terms of its priorities. Number 3, we have seen spending in priority areas being considered. I talked about, there are many priority areas, but again, you look at the most important ones. And we mentioned about agriculture, we mentioned about health, we mentioned about education, which are very key, especially in job creation and so forth and so on. So those are the key highlights I can mention about. Yes.
Thank you for that. And we were speaking on the different ways in which Rwanda is investing in various sectors. We spoke on agriculture, we spoke on infrastructure, but CPA Jamali, as a person who works in the education sector, we have seen how Rwanda continues to invest in that sector, as well as human capital development. How or why should families view this as an investment in Rwanda's future rather than simply a social expenditure? And you spoke about it through the fact that now investing in quality education will contribute to the workforce in the future. But for the sake of families, why is it important that they see this as investing in Rwanda's future?
Thank you. Making a major spending in education is essential because, as I was mentioning, having a skilled labor will create, skilled workforce that would contribute again to that economic transformation that we were talking. I remember last year there was a survey that was conducted by the Ministry of Public Service and Labor in partnership with Rwanda Development Board, and we found the categories of different people, what we termed as NEET, where we found some youth that are not in employment, not in education, they are not classified. And now the government from there, they have taken a deliberate decision for education for all. Nowadays, education for all, maybe I speak in the perspective of higher education, because we see this to start with the partnerships that we are having with different industries. The industries need skilled labor. We are there at the production part, ensuring that we have made some skilled graduates who will contribute to these industries, to start with, they will do some internships, they do some apprenticeships, and then they start contributing to these industries. Now, for families in Rwanda that are investing in education, they should not see as a social expenditure simply because they are investing in the future of their kids, they are investing in the future of the nation, they are investing in the future generation. Because in the future, the moment we increase the number of skilled labor, the industries in Rwanda will be able to employ people who are skilled. Of course, we have been seeing some complaints that there is a mismatch between the market and what the universities are just producing in terms of quality graduates. But there is this current working relationship where we are creating partnerships, and now we want to show the families in Rwanda the value for their money when they invest in education, by providing quality education to their people, by providing quality education to the young generation. And then this will be reflected in the industries using the skilled labor. This will be reflected in the return that the families will get from the investment that have made in their kids.
Okay, thank you for outlining that. CPA Angelo, we spoke on the different ways in which a neighbor can hold the other accountable, but such conversations are the reason to why we are able to raise awareness, but also have the 2026-2027 budget explained and everything that has to do with the financial budget of the year. But for a citizen watching, what role can they play in terms of promoting accountability and ensuring a value for money in public expenditure?
The citizen can be categorized in different ways. One, there are those who are in money economy, one business. They should play their role and pay taxes. And those who are not in money economy can also play the role of a watchdog. If they notice that, for example, some people are evading taxes, then they should report them. Citizens should demand invoices. They should educate each other. And by working collectively, then it will become easy for the government to meet its targets, revenue targets and its priorities. So the role of the citizen in revenue mobilization and collection is very critical. It cannot be emphasized more than that. Yes.
One more point on this. When it comes to the role of the citizens, as the CPA Angelo was mentioning, as a neighbor being a watchdog to his neighbor, I recall when I evade tax and I don't pay, I do tax evasion, it is a reflection that I don't have trust in my government. But by the increased trust, all Rwandans, they are assured that their money are in safe hands. There is public accountability from the government, there is public accountability from the Solicitor General, and we know that by the time I contribute in payment of tax, the results will speak themselves. I see roads being constructed, I see schools, I see healthy facilities, I see everything. And then, of course, this will boost my trust and it will increase my accountability to ensure even my neighbor pays tax. You will go and be in the supermarket, and then when you just buy a bread, you will I will hang in there. I need to get an EBM receipt to ensure that I have made my contribution to tax correction. And of course, this goes with the government where that I was mentioning. If I know that when I pay tax, I don't get some returns that I can see in different infrastructure, then I will not care. But we do care because we see returns.
Yes.
Of course, there is no quid pro quo, but we see indirect returns in everything that is being implemented by the government.
If I can give you some statistics.
Yes.
If you go to the tax administration, or you find almost we have around 500,000 people toward that registered for tax. They have what you call a tax identification number. But if again you come and see how many people make tax returns at the end of the year or end of the month, I don't think there are more than 100. So where is the rest? They register, they don't show up. Okay? So that shows you that we still have a lot of informal sector, and there is a gap within the sensitization.
Yes.
So that everyone can contribute. Even a single coin, when it comes to taxes, it matters. Yes.
Thank you for that. We're nearing the conclusion of the show. I'll start with you, CPA Jamali. In your view, what would success look like at the end of the 2026-2027 financial year?
I would say that in this 26-27 national budget, we are seeing that the government has increased the budget compared to last year. 25-26, and this increase is not simply an increase in expenditure. It is not simply an increase in expenditure because the government of Rwanda is taking a deliberate decision of strategically investing in its own people, ensuring that whatever we do comes from our own people. And now the success, how it will look like at the end of the fiscal year, I will see the strengthened Rwandan resilience. We are not being hit by these global uncertainties. I will see more jobs being created at the end of the day. And then I will see more infrastructure being completed, because I believe that the money that will come from domestic revenue will be spent appropriately. And of course, as somebody who is in education, I will continue to see a larger growth in the education sector, where the government is putting much emphasis in educating the next generation, putting much emphasis on TVET, the technical vocational education training, because these have a direct contribution to the labor force, the working labor force. And then, to me, the success will be highlighted if this implemented efficiently, as it has been always. Then we'll see all these changes at the end of 2027.
Yes, thank you very much. And to you, CPA Angelo, looking ahead, what should businesses and taxpayers pay close attention to during this financial year?
Taxpayers should comply, and they should pay what they're supposed to pay. What I can say here as a person who understands the tax laws is that tax penalties are very high if you don't comply. So from the onset, taxpayers should comply and minimize paying these penalties. In fact, some people complain that taxes are high in Rwanda. It's not the case. It's because penalties are high if you don't comply. Therefore, from a tax perspective, I call upon the people that we advise as Garnet partners and other taxpayers that they should comply with their obligations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, this has been very insightful, very informative. Thank you for helping to explain the 2026-27 financial year and the budget that was released. It's always good for the average citizen to understand some of these statistics, but also the information that was released, and for us to understand the role that we have in order to increase the domestic revenue that can be generated. So yes, tonight's discussion reminds us that the national budget is more than figures on paper. It is a roadmap for Rwanda's development and a reflection of the country's priorities, and we see these investments through the jobs that have been created: education, agriculture, infrastructure, as well as business growth. And the budget touches every citizen in one way or the other. So my sincere thanks to CPA Jamali as well as CPA Angelo for sharing the insights with us and for educating us a little more on some of these things that concern the financial year of 2026-2027.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and for our viewers, thank you for tuning in. We hope we made things a little easier in terms of understanding it, and we'll have to see you next time. My name is Martina Avera. Good night.